Hi guys, Juice here. I am here to film a long video today. If you like a long video, stick around and enjoy this fall reads recommendation. Now for your fall, I really love to read a lot of fantasy. Fantasy is my go-to genre for the fall season. I do like to read a few contemporaries here and there. I don't think any of these are contemporaries except one, and that's a graphic novel that I really think is perfect for fall. These are in no particular order. There's 16 books here. I'm going to talk about why I recommend them and if they have any trigger warnings. So these are in no particular order. There is 1, 2, 3, 4, 17 books here for this video. So I'm going to fly through these. I will leave timestamp down below if you want. I'll leave that in the description box down below and down in the comments. While you guys are down there looking at the description box, give me a big thumbs up for this video if you have liked this video, and subscribe if you haven't hit that subscribe button yet. So let's just jump into it. The first book that I will talk about is Home Before Dark by Riley Sager. This is Riley Sager's newest novel, and this is an adult mystery thriller book that has two storylines aspect. We follow our main character named Maggie Holt, and she used to live in this haunted house when she was a kid, and then after that it's like 25 years later in her life, and she is back at this house with her husband and child of her own, and all these things that happened to her as a kid is now happening to her daughter. And it was just super creepy. A lot of snakes involved in this book. Trigger warning for death of a family member, snakes, and haunted horror stuff if you don't like haunted houses. But this is the first book that I would recommend. It's definitely very creepy to read at night. I will say that for sure. I read this in like 2 or 3 days when I got this in June, because in June I went camping for Father's Day weekend. And I just read this almost the whole trip while we were there. And I was like, ooh, this is creepy. And I also read this by the fire pit. So it was very creepy to read on that camping trip. It was just like a perfect time for me to read. I definitely want to try to reread this, because this is definitely a 5 out of 5 stars with me. And this would definitely be on my 2020 favorite list. The next book I have are a short story collection, and that is His Hideous Heart, edited by Delilah Alder. This one I just read last year as well, and I really enjoyed it. There's 13 authors here. There's Kendar Blake, Ren Chapeko, Larma Gills, Tessa Granton, Stephanie something, Emily Lloyd Jones, Marie Ninjkamp, Fran Wild, Delilah Alder, of course, Amanda Lovelace, Caleb Rogan, Hillary Mohana, Tiffany G. Jackson, and then the other two I already named. So there's a lot of authors that I know from the booktube world, but not a lot of these I've read. The only one I read is Emily Lloyd Jones and Kendar Blake is what I've read from. Oh, and Marika Ninjkamp is who I read from before. So this is really creepy as well. This is a creepy, like, young adult thriller mystery retellings. There's 13 stories of Edgar Allan Poe's most unsettling tales. So in the first half of this book is the retellings from these 13 lovely authors that I just said, and then in the back is the actual poems from Edgar Allan Poe himself. And it's just super creepy. I buddy read this with a lot of my friends last year, and we all really enjoyed it. I think I gave this like a 4 stars last year. So I'm really hoping you guys, if you guys love Edgar Allan Poe and the creepy aspect of that, of his whole like poems, you would definitely love this. A lot of these are not like poem styles though. They're actually like a short story. But there is one story in here that is written in verse, so I really enjoyed this. I will definitely be rereading this soon, because I just feel like it's a perfect book for fall. The next book I have is The Bone Houses by Emily Lloyd Jones. This is the second novel by Emily Lloyd Jones. Her first novel was The Heart We Sold, and Owl Crate did both of her books, but I never got the copy of The Heart We Sold because I joined Owl Crate before her debut novel was in one of their boxes. But I was so happy this was in one of the boxes because it was super popular last year during the fall, and it still is popular here on BookTube, I think, because I don't hear a lot of it going around, but the one channel that I hear about is Haley from Haley in Bookland. She recently read this and she really loved this, so this is definitely a creepy novel as well. I don't know what to classify this genre as, but it says nothing stays buried forever. 17-year-old Rin cares about only two things, her family and her family graveyard, and right about now both are in dire straits. Since the death of their parents, Rin and her siblings have been scraping together a meager existence as grave diggers in the remote village of Colburn, which sits at the foot of the harsh and deadly mountain range that was once home of the Fae. So there's some Fae in this novel, there's some supernatural stuff, and there's also a goat as a pet, and we love that. And I'm really excited to read more from this author, hopefully soon, if she has other books coming. The next book I have is Three Dark Crowns by Kendall Blake. This is the first book in a 4-book series. I completed this series last year, so I really and truly think this would be perfect for the fall. I just can't wait to read this one, and I just can't wait for you guys to read this one, is what I mean. And I hope you guys do pick it up, because all 4 books are now out, so you're able to binge read this series if you want. And I really enjoyed it. The first 2 books were not my favorite. I would say the last 2 books of the series is my favorite. Book 1 and 2 were very slow, but Three Dark Crowns follow 3 sisters who have to fight to the death to get the throne. That's all I would say for this one, because this is very popular on BookTube. And I definitely agree with Reagan that it has some creepy, Reagan from Peru's Project, I should say. It definitely has some creepy fall atmospheric type of setting in here as well. So really enjoyed this series, and I can't wait for more from Kendall Blake. Hopefully she has another book coming out soon, because I really love this one. The next book I have is Miss Peregrine's Home for Peculiar Children by Ransom Riggs. If you know Jesse from Jesse the Reader, this is his favorite series of all time. And I actually didn't know about the series until I watched one of his videos and he mentioned this book. And I was like, that's a little creepy for me, but 4 books later, I am here and I'm loving this series. I read book 4 last year, so I'm all caught up. I have book 5 on my TBR shelf, but I'm scared to read book 5. I might actually read book 5 this year, just because I think book 6 will be coming out next year. This was a trilogy, and then Ransom added another set of trilogy onto this series, if that makes sense. So Miss Peregrine Home for Peculiar Children follows our main character name, it's been a while since I read it, named Jacob, and he is this like strange kid. He sees these like ghosts, and like if these pictures don't creep you out, I don't know what will. There were pictures throughout this novel that Ransom Riggs says are real pictures. Like, let me just show you these pictures. That's probably a spoiler, but whatever. But yeah, I really enjoyed this whole series, and all 5 books are out, and then I think he's writing book 6, or book 6 is coming next year. So I really love this creepy atmospheric setting. That's what I'm going to be saying for all of these. But this one will definitely, I want to reread sometime soon. So yeah. The next book I have is a trilogy, and it's completed. The 3rd and final book to this trilogy came out last year, so it's still very popular. And that is Scythe by Neil Shusterman. This is the first book in the Arc of the Scythe trilogy, and I really enjoy this trilogy. Book 3 is definitely my least favorite in this trilogy, but book 2 and 1 are my favorite. Scythe follows this dystopian world. This isn't like it's more of a dystopian slash sci-fi novel, so it's not really a fantasy, but this is definitely different from their normal books that I read. I heard of Scythe going around book 2, but then I was like never interested in it because it says a world without hunger, no disease, no war, if I can speak today, no misery. Humanity has conquered all those things and has even conquered death. Now, Scythes are the only ones who can end life, and they are commanded to do so in order to keep the size of the population under control. So yeah, Neil Shusterman's writing was just fantastic in this trilogy. Book 3 was a bit long for my taste, but other than that, I really enjoyed this trilogy overall, and I will definitely be reading more from him if he has any more books. And like I said, the whole trilogy is out now, so you can binge read this trilogy if you want to read this in the fall. The next book is my all-time favorite book. I literally recommend this to my mom, who hasn't read this yet. I recommended this to my friend Taylor, who she bought the book but haven't read this yet, and that is Six of Crows by Leigh Bardugo. I could have recommended the Shadow and Bone trilogy too, so I guess both of these books are on this list, but I really love the Six of Crows duology more than this one. This one is only 2-book series, so Six of Crows and Crooked Kingdom are out. This is what Crooked Kingdom looks like in case you guys don't know. These are very popular books. This follows our cast of crew who goes on a heist and things happen from there. I love the series. I remember devouring this one when I was going to Maine one summer, and I brought this with me. And I don't remember if I read this here or if I read this on a trip, but I did bought this off of Amazon, and I screamed when this came in the mail. Look at these beauties. Like, tell me you don't want these covers on your shelf and these sprayed edges. Yes, please. I'm really excited to see what Leigh Bardugo has in store for her sequel to King of Scars, which is right here. King of Scars I read this year and I really enjoyed it, so I'm looking forward to the sequel. Let me put Crooked Kingdom back because it's super heavy. But yeah, I'm really enjoying this, and I hope you guys will love this one as well. If you love heist stories and a cast of Slytherins, you would definitely love this one. So going on to the next books that I have to talk to you today about, my fall books recommendation are Caraval by Stephanie Garber. This is the first book in a trilogy that I actually just completed this trilogy this year. I completed this trilogy with finale. I read finale in the month of September, so I'll be talking more about that in my September wrap-up. If this book can go back up. It won't go back up. That's okay. Caraval by Stephanie Garber. This was her debut novel, and this one is about 2 sisters, and there's a carnival involved, and there's this carnival that is very popular. You only see the circus at night, and it comes and goes whenever it feels like it. And this follows our 2 sisters, Donatella and Scarlett, and one of them gets chosen to participate in the Caraval, and so they didn't realize how intense this Caraval actually is. And there's these 2 guys that they meet, Dante and Legend, and they are 2 evil characters that we have. I mean, just look at this beautiful map. I don't want to say a lot about this book because I don't want to spoil this whole series, but I will talk more about my feelings on finale. And this cover is just so shiny. Also, my friend Taylor is currently reading this, and she's loving it. This is another one that I recommended to her, and she actually is reading this at the moment as we speak. So, I mean, like, the first line in this book is, "It took 7 years to get the letter right." Like, if that doesn't draw you in, I don't know what will. I really enjoyed this whole trilogy. Book 2 is not my favorite in this trilogy, but other than that, I really enjoyed this trilogy overall. The next book I actually just starting book 3 to this trilogy this month, and that is Ace of Shades by Amanda Foody. Amanda Foody is well known for her Ace of Shades trilogy. She also has another book out called Daughter of the Burning City. Oops. And so this is what her debut novel was. It didn't really got a lot of great reviews, but then when this book came out, it was everywhere. I read both Ace of Shades and King of Fools by Amanda Foody this year. I literally read these back to back, and I want to read Queen of Vaults, which I own. But I'm scared to finish this trilogy because book 2, I was not happy with. Like, I enjoyed the story overall, but I don't want to spoil you for book 2. But I talked about this in my July wrap-up, I think. No, I will be talking about this in my August wrap-up. It's either my July or August wrap-up that I read this. I read this very recently, and I can't remember what month it was. But yeah, overall, I really enjoyed the first 2 books of this trilogy so far. This book took me forever to read, though. Like, I had this on my shelf since 2018 because this was one of the Owl Crate picks from their boxes, and I was like, I tried reading this before, couldn't get into it, but then I picked it up this summer, and I was like, why did it take me so long to read it? I talked about this one I know for sure I talked about in my July wrap-up, so I'll leave my July wrap-up up above or down in the description below. But Ace of Shades is set in this city of sin. It says, welcome to City of Sins, where casinos, family, regions, gangs, infants, the streets, and secrets hide in every shadow. And Anne is our main character, and she goes on this quest to find her mother. Her mother has been kidnapped, and so she has like 12 or 13 days until she finds her mother, or her mother dies, apparently. So it's definitely brutal, and it's definitely crazy, and birds are flying everywhere outside my window, so sorry. And I really enjoyed this. Book 2 goes even deeper into why her mother's been kidnapped and how that all plays in with this storyline. But I overall love this trilogy so far, and I can't wait to read book 3. And then the second to last non-middle grade books I have are another Leigh Bardugo book. I try not to have a lot of the same authors on this list, but this one and Six of Crows was like my favorite by her. So, and that is Ninth House by Leigh Bardugo. This is a first book in an adult mystery thriller series, and I'm not sure how long the series is. According to Goodreads, there's only 2 books in the series so far, and book 2 doesn't have a release date yet. So I'm really nervous to see when book 2 comes out, because I read this and this left on a little cliffhanger. I probably won't tell you what Ninth House is about, but this is following our main character, Galaxy, or also known as Alex Stern, and she is the most unlikely member of this Yale society, and she gets into some sort of trouble. I forgot what it was because I read this very early on in 2020, and it's been a while since I read this. But on the desk jacket, the memorizing adult debut from Leigh Bardugo, A Tale of Power, Privilege, Dark Magic, and Murder set among the Ivy League elite. So that sounds very interesting to you. You should definitely read this. And there's lots of trigger warnings for this book. I wrote the trigger warnings down on my book review, which I'll leave my book review for this down below. So check out my book review if you want to see the trigger warnings, because there was a lot of trigger warnings for this. And there's this one scene in here that definitely creeped me out, and I'm like, ooh, there should have been a trigger warning for this. So I won't say what it was because I would spoil the whole book, but this was definitely creepy. I listened to this on audio, and the narrator was perfect for this book. So I'm really excited to see where book 2 will take us. And then if you want an actual like Hunger Games inspired creepy novel to read this fall, that is The Call by Vidar Orgolan. I buddy read this duology with my friend Taylor, and we actually bought book 2 at Barnes & Noble whenever it came out. It's super short too, so it's not that long, and book 2 is a bit bigger. Put compared to both of them. These did have a cover change. I don't like the cover change, but it's whatever. Book 1 is The Call, and then the second one is called The Invasion. I buddy read both of these with my friend Taylor. I literally read The Call in one day. I read this in one sitting, and it was just so good and so hard for me to put down. I honestly forgot who the character names are in here, but it says, a horn sounds, the call has begun. And on the dust jacket it says, 3 minutes you'll wake up alone in a horrified land. A horn sounds, the call has begun. 2 minutes, the shides are closed. The most beautiful and terrible people you have ever seen, and they've seen you. 1 minute, Nessa will be called soon. No one thinks she has any chance to survive, but she's determined to prove them wrong. Time's up. Could you survive the call? Dun dun dun. So this literally is like the perfect book to read if you want something like The Hunger Games. It literally is like more violent though, and it is also like more creepy. So like, and if this cover doesn't creep you out, I don't know what will. But like, there's skulls on the back of these covers, if you can see. And this is a duology, so both books are out and you can marathon them as well. And I definitely recommend these because I physically read these, so I definitely want to try and listen to the audiobook and see if the audiobooks for these are creepy or not. But I love both of these books. I think I love book 1 more just because it was like a new world and I haven't seen anything like that before, so I really am enjoying this. And I don't think he has any other books out at the moment, so these might be his only 2 books. But man, were they good. And now I have a lot of middle grade books that I would like to recommend to you guys today. Middle grades aren't as creepy as they can, but there's a few here that are creepy and a few that I really enjoyed. And that first one is The Dreadful Tale of Prosper Redding by Alexandra Bracken. This is the first book in a new middle grade series, and it follows our main character Prosper Redding, and he has this like ghost in him, no, the demon living inside of him, and his great something grandfather made and then broken a contract with a malefactor, a demon who exchanged fortunes for eternal service. So like, there's this like demon inside of Prosper Redding, and he has to do these uncomfortable stuff that he doesn't like, and it was just super creepy. I listened to this via audiobook when it came out, and I really enjoyed the narrator for it. I will have to look up who does it, but I really enjoyed this book. And book 2 is out. I own it. It's over there on my bookshelf, on my to be read shelf over there. And so I will definitely be reading book 2 in October. So spoiler alert for October TBR. I might reread this one first and then jump into book 2 since I have both of the books now, but definitely love this one. The next book I have is City of Ghosts by Victoria Schwab. Victoria Schwab is not a new author to middle grade. She has the archive duology, so I really love those. I was going to put those on more than this one, but this one is easier for me to explain than the archive series itself. Victoria Schwab is a well-known author for her A Darker Shade of Magic series, and I really enjoy this. This is a super short middle grade, but it's also very creepy. This follows our main character. On the tagline it says, a haunted girl, an adventure like no other. And the dust jacket says, Cassidy Blake's life is full of ghosts. Ever since Cassidy almost drowned, okay, she did drown, but she doesn't like to think about it. She can pull back the veil that separates the living from the dead and enter the world of spirits. Her best friend is even a ghost. And so she and her best friend goes on these quests to figure out why her best friend is a ghost and how come she has these like supernatural powers. Book 1 and 2 are out. Book 2 is called Tunnel of Bones, and that one was even more creepier. And then she has book 3 coming. It was supposed to come out this fall, but it got pushed back due to COVID. So sadly, we have to wait for book 3 to come out next year, but I definitely recommend this one for you guys. And the next book I have is not so much as creepy or like thrilling as the other books have been, but this is one of my new favorite fantasy series, and that is The Warrior Heir by Cindy William Chima. This is the first book in a middle grade series. I actually own book 2 right here. I only own book 1 and book 2 because I borrowed book 3 and 3, 4, and 5. So this is a 5-book series, and there's different characters in each book, but they all coincide with each other until you get to book 5. Once you get to book 5, you'll see everyone in one story, which is pretty awesome of Cinda to do that. So yeah, I'm really enjoying this world. I'm starting her spin-off series, the Demon King series, I think. I'm not sure if that's the correct title, but the first book follows our 16-year-old Jack, and he doesn't know that he has these like wizarding people in his family. And so in the beginning of the book, he lives in the small town of Ohio, and he just finds out he's a wizard and all that, or not a wizard but a warrior, and he goes on these quests to figure out how to survive while being a warrior. It's really, as you guys know, my summaries will suck throughout this video because you guys know I don't like doing summaries. But yeah, all 5 books have been out for a long time, and it took me a while to binge read this series, but these are totally bingeable, if that's a word. I have 3 more books left to talk about, and so the next one is Pumpkinheads by Rainbow Rowell and Faith Erin Hicks. This is a graphic novel that I mentioned in the very beginning of this video, and the reason why I think this is perfect for the fall, because like literally has the word pumpkin in the title, and like this little dust jacket flap thingy this is the map of where these 2 characters will work at. They work at this like pumpkin patch type of place. I don't know the exact words, but like some of the artwork in here is like really pretty, and it looks like this throughout the novel. And like, just look at that, it says sunset. It has all the fall colors, and I actually mentioned this in one of my book tags that I did this week. So I really want to reread this one because I read this in like one day, and I just overall really enjoyed this, and I love Rainbow Rowell, so there's that. And then the second to last book I have here to talk about is Shah and the End of Time by Roshani Chokshi. I almost forgot which one I was holding. Roshani Chokshi is the author of The Star-Touched Queen and The Gilded Wolves. I read The Gilded Wolves by her, and I read this, so I only read 2 series by her so far. I haven't read The Star-Touched Queen. I might want to, but I actually have it checked out from my library, so I'm really excited to see if I will like that one or not. But this is an Shah, and The End of Time is a middle grade story. It's I forgot what mythology it was, but it's some sort of like Greek mythology and an Indian mythology aspect. And it says Shah has a tendency to stretch the truth in order to fit in her private middle school. Her classmates are jetting off on vacation. She'll be spending her autumn break in the Museum of Ancient Indian Art and Culture that her mom curates. Is it any wonder Aru makes up stories about being royalty, traveling to Paris, and having a chauffeur? One day, 3 schoolmates shows up on Aru's doorstep to catch her in a lie. They don't believe her claim that the museum's lamp of something, I can't really say that, is cursed, and they dare Aru to prove it. Just a quick light, Aru thinks, then she'll never ever fib again. So yeah, there's this Pandavar stuff, and Boo the Bird. It was hilarious throughout this series. You meet all these characters on the cover in this very first book. There's 3 books out. Book 4 will come out in 2021, and I've read book 3 this year, and I really loved it. So I really hope you guys will love this. And again, this is a middle grade book. And then the last middle grade book on my list that I have to talk to you today is not like mystery thriller or spooky aspect at all. But that is The School for Good and Evil by Simone Chanier. This is book 1 in the School for Good and Evil series. There's 6 books out. The whole series is out now. I've marathoned the first 3 trilogies, and then I had to wait for the second trilogy that came out. But I really enjoyed these. So this follows our main characters, Sophie and Agatha, and they are about to discover where all the lost children go, and one of them thinks they'll be in the school for good, and the other would think they'll be in the school for evil. But once they get there, they switch bodies, and they'll find out that they're in different schools, and it's just a fantastic middle grade. The world is an amazing world building, and the magic system in here is very good. If you want something other than Harry Potter, read this series, because this is like, I don't want to say it's better than Harry Potter, but it's definitely reminding me a lot about Harry Potter. And I don't support the author of Harry Potter anymore because of what she said on Twitter. But there's 6 books out for the series. I'm actually planning on reading book 5 and 6 this fall myself and see if I can complete this series or not. But I really enjoyed the first 4 books of the series, and the audiobook narrator is amazing, so I definitely recommend checking these out on audio. But like I said, all 6 books are out, and it's a middle grade series, and the first book is like super short, so that's enough said. So those were all the books that I have. Let me turn this around. So that's the stack that's looking at me right now. And I am going to go now. This is the longest video I ever made on this phone. So thank you so much for watching, guys. Like I said in the beginning, if you like this video, please give me a big thumbs up, hit subscribe, and I will talk to you guys later down in the comments. Have a great day. Bye.